Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Inside the Birds TV Ask ITB live stream. I'm Jeff Mosher. That other guy is Adam Kaplan. Of course, ITB TV is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to probably take it a little bit longer because, Adam, you and I have been doing this podcast series with Greg Cosell, and if anybody who's watching right now hasn't checked it out yet, we have broken down every team in the NFC East from Dallas to Washington to New York and finishing up with the Eagles, which dropped this morning. Greg Cosell joined us for all of them and did a fantastic job breaking down. Like, if you're a real football junkie, which most of you out there are, and you don't mind spending some time learning about the opponent, and you want to know just more about, like, Washington, yeah, of course they have Chase Young. Of course they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick. But what about a kid like Cameron Curl, an upcoming safety for them that you got to keep your eyes on? That's why this series, Adam, I thought was some of our best work with Greg Cosell, because we went through the entire roster for every team in the NFC East. And really, the Eagles one was even more comprehensive than I thought it was going to be. We went through about as much as we possibly could.
I mean, I'm not joking on the Eagles one, which was 90 minutes, folks, if you haven't heard it. I didn't count the number of players, but I would say we probably covered at least half the roster in one way or the other. It wasn't our plan. It was just that we came in with certain things we wanted to cover. We would have a conversation, or Greg would bring up something that he thought of, and that would spark another question. Mm-hmm. And the good thing is about him is he sees tape of every team. He has no agenda. I got a Thursday, Jeff, on the internet or Twitter or social media was bad Eagles take Thursday from some Eagles fans. It was real. I decided not to respond to any of it. It was so bad and so without thought, some of these responses, and some of them were funny. Mm-hmm. The anti-Hurt stuff was very strong from the fans because they think that Cosell backed him up for it. He really did. He didn't do that. Correct. He just goes, "This is what the tape looks like." He never said, like, after four and a quarter games or whatever it was, 4.5 games, and he couldn't prove it. He goes, "This is what the tape looked like for playing as he did last season." And then the Hurt supporters thinks he's got that Cosell doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
Teams don't like him. And the takes are so bad and idiotic. I would like to get these people into like a gym.
No, you wouldn't.
Let's get the boxing gloves and let them go at it again. It's so bad. And as you said, look, this is educational for all of us. If you're a real, true NFL fan and an Eagles fan, and you want to be better and not have an agenda, just listen.
Right.
You learn something. If you have an agenda going in, you're never going to get it right. You're just you don't want to listen. You think that Cosell's got it in for a player, your favorite player, or likes a player that he shouldn't like or doesn't like. And look, we had Washington fans chime in on the Washington show. Yeah, we had Giants fans,
and many of them enjoyed it and said it was fair and correct and accurate. Yeah, I do want to go through one opinion take, whatever you want to call it, about the Jalen Hurts breakdown that Greg did. Just to clarify something, because this one isn't a bad take by the fans, but I don't think they understood fully the message Greg was trying to convey. A lot of people reacted and said, okay, Jalen Hurts flees the pocket early, but Carson Wentz had to flee the pocket a lot too, that the offensive line protection was so bad last year that both quarterbacks were trying to get out of the pocket. And that's absolutely fair, and that's true. But what Greg does is watch every single snap. And Jalen Hurts started 4 games, and not every single snap was he nor Carson Wentz under complete and dire pressure.
Of course.
There were plenty of snaps where you might not have seen anything other than a 3 or a 4-man rush, and by intent on the defense, and the quarterback, either Carson or Jalen, did have time to throw the ball and scan the field. And those are the times where Greg would say he saw if Jalen first read wasn't there, he would try to get out of the pocket. Of course, we know that if there's 3 people on him, he's going to try to get out of the pocket. Greg's not an idiot. Neither is Adam. Neither is I. Neither are most fans. We know that you're getting out of the pocket because the offensive line breaks down, but not every single play does the offensive line have a breakdown. And those were the ones that Greg was referring to.
Right. So the ones where he said he flee the pocket, or he said he left too many plays on the field, that's when he had protection. That's exactly what he meant. Now,
right.
I know some people, because they didn't want to listen to what Greg said, they just had an agenda. Sometimes they think Greg has it out for a certain player, or he really, I'll tell you, I've known Greg for a long time. He really likes Jalen Reagor. Like I've talked to him privately about Reagor.
Right.
He likes Jalen Reagor. he likes Travis Fulgham. He thinks Fulgham's very gifted. He also said, as you heard him, he goes, he doesn't know anything about off the field or why he didn't play over Jeffrey. He just goes, look, this is what I see. Okay, right. All he goes by what he sees. But even when he likes a player, as much as he liked Wentz, he buried Wentz last season. He didn't hold anything back.
Correct.
I mean, I've not heard him that critical, other than Josh Allen. I remember as a rookie when Allen was so bad with his accuracy. Now he loves Allen because Allen got himself together through great coaching.
Right.
But he goes, this is what I see. And he removes his biases if he has it. And he goes, this is what I see. And with Rager, and you'll hear it on our show, like as much as he liked Mailata for the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game, listen to what he said on the show. It surprised me. I did not know that. I was not aware that Mailata didn't play as well in the Final Four games. But Greg saw it, and he goes, this is what I saw, folks. I have nothing else to say about it. This is what the tape showed.
Right. It's really all about tape with Greg Cosell. And he's made it a point to say many, many times, what the tape shows you today does not determine it's definitely going to show you that tomorrow and beyond. Players improve, players regress, players do a whole different bunch of different things. So, and Greg was very careful to point that out with everybody that he evaluated for us.
Well, yeah. One more thing I wanted to add. What he did this time for us was because he, as he clearly said, he does not have the time to chart every play that, like for instance with Hertz, he had an overview of Jalen Hurts in season, which was fairly favorable, I'd say. Yes. Last year he did, okay?
Yes.
But he didn't go back and watch every third down. He didn't go back and, as you said, every throw, particularly the third downs. He saw plays left on the field. He knows he played just over 4 games. That's not the point. The point is this is what the tape showed. But as you said, look, and it's absolutely, and I kind of know where you're getting here. Because I actually said that with Mike Gill on Thursday. The good thing about Jalen Hurts playing is now they have the tape. Everybody, the issues that he has is not letting the plays develop sometimes. That's easily correctable because you're showing it on tape. The coaches will show him that. Yeah, it's really not a big deal. Now it becomes a big deal through 6 or 7 games if he's protected well. When he's protected well, he starts leaving after he goes for 1.5 reads. That's going to be a problem. That'll get him benched.
Absolutely. So, well, yeah, I mean, or at least not being able to retain the job beyond 2021. We will see. There's a lot to get into with
I mean, look, there aren't any excuses when the pocket is protected.
Correct.
Wentz had, when I understand Wentz was under duress, but folks, there were plenty of plays where Wentz was protected. The ball either hit the ground, sailed over the guy's head. We pointed out the Cleveland game where they should have won that game against Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I know the weather was bad, but there were too many instances where Wentz didn't play well. And we made it clear that he should have been benched well before he was benched.
Absolutely.
But they didn't do it.
All right, we're going to get in. We got some questions lining up. We were going to get into that. But because we've done this podcast series, right, we haven't had an opportunity to hit some of the few hard news nuggets that have been, I say, in the news cycle the last 24, 48 hours. So we'll do that now, and then we'll get to the questions. First, I want to remind everyone, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code ITB, and when you sign up, you can turn $1 into $100 in free credits. That's $1 into $100 in free site credits when you use the promo code ITB on the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Adam, let's talk about Zach Ertz. I know there was a report, I think, last week.
Oh, boy.
Merrill Reese starting some trouble here in the area that Zach Ertz was like, so close to being traded to the Buffalo Bills.
By the way, he said something similar, not quite as strong on our show first.
That's true. That's true. He did say something similar. And I believe he backtracked to say that the interview that became like headline splashy last week was actually done well prior to when it was released. So
okay. Because it's funny. On our interview with him, he mentioned Ertz in Buffalo fairly strong. And I wasn't sure if we should have stopped doing the interview and said, hey, Merrill, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I went with it, and no one. I was ready, to kind of discuss it if Merrill was getting quoted on our show, but he wasn't, so I just dropped it.
Right.
And then, as you said last week, this comes out, and I had a couple people, ask me with certain teams, what is going? Is he really going to Buffalo? I said, I don't think so, but I don't understand what's going on here. So, Jeff, I know you have something on this.
Well, it's what we've reported for quite a while, going back to the draft. I do know the Bills have had interest. I know they've talked to the Eagles about it. But right around the draft, I reported, while people thought that the draft was going to happen right about after the draft. No, but going into the draft on draft night, I said, from what I understand, it's not. It's very unlikely. Then I checked into it on June 1st when teams started to clear cap space, because, as you reported, Adam, this is a financial issue. I mean, he's $8.5 million for a guy who's not, deemed right now as an $8.5 million player. That's the issue right now. And so when June 1st and teams cleared caps, I rechecked in, and I was told that there was not much movement on anything there with the Bills and the Eagles. And I checked in on it again about a week, I guess, after Merrill's report came out. And, there was a little bit of an LOL there, because it was, Merrill Reese reporting it, not known. We all love Merrill, but he's not a newsbreaker.
Yeah.
And so, again, that told me that nothing has really changed. Now, look, we could all wake up tomorrow as we get closer to training camp, and everything can change, right? We know the Eagles have been talking to Dallas Goedert about an extension. And, one thing I haven't brought up with you, Adam, which I will now, is I think that there's a tremendous risk. Maybe I did bring it up with you. I don't even remember anymore.
Okay.
In having Zach Ertz on the team, even for the first day of training camp, if you really don't want him on the team this year, because if this guy gets hurt, does anything that's going to put him out for a long time, and you can't trade him, then you have to pay him while he's on your roster. Right now, you can cut him and owe him $0.
Yep.
You'd have to pay him, and then wait till he gets healthy. And God forbid it be a season-ending injury. Then you've lost any opportunity to move him to alleviate your $8.5 million. So there's a real risk in just having him practice with the team in training camp. So I'm very, very curious to see on how this thing plays out. We've still got a couple of weeks to go. And so, like I say, right now, nothing new, at least between the Bills and the Eagles, but tomorrow anything can change as we get closer to training camp.
Yes. Yeah, so why would they even have some interest? Because they moved on from Tyler Kroft. It just didn't work out for them in the Bills. He's now Tyler Kroft is now with the Jets. Dawson Knox is technically their starting tight end, who's flashed a little bit. He's more of a vertical tight end, but he's had some injuries. He was on the COVID list last season. He enters his third year of a 4-year deal. They believe, I could just tell you, the Bills believe that they're a Super Bowl type team. That's why they signed. It was a little bit of a surprise, Emmanuel Sanders. Not that he's a very good player, but they also like Gabriel Davis, was the 4th rounder last year out of Central Florida a lot, but he'll be their top backup outside receiver. Sanders will start opposite Stephon Diggs. Beasley's their slot receiver, but the one position they're not really good with is tight end. They traded Lee Smith, the blocking tight end, away to the Falcons. So right. And that now, not that Ertz is a good blocker, but he's an incredibly reliable pass target when healthy.
Right.
And that's kind of whatever their interest level is, that's kind of the way I see it. They're looking for someone who's reliable as a pass target. And I mean, that's the thing with Zach Ertz. You could say whatever you want about him. He's older now. He turns 31 this fall. He's coming off ankle surgery. All true. But the one thing he does is get open, and that's really what he is.
All right, let's move on to the second cornerback situation. The names are out there. Steven Nelson being the biggest one. I think you and I have kind of heard similar things on this. Look, Nelson, wanted more money when he was in Pittsburgh, I believe, and then they cut him. He's a free agent.
Actually what they wanted to do
they wanted him to take a pay cut, right?
Well, they wanted to redo his deal. He was scheduled to make $8.25 million. No guaranteed money, and he balked. Now, because it never got to the point where the restructure would potentially be a pay cut, we still don't know that. It was a minimum of a restructure. It could have been actually wound up being a pay cut. We don't know that. But nevertheless, he has to be cut, which right now seems foolish, but because he ain't making $8.25 million anywhere. There's no way. What I've been told by several teams is, in fact, I think up to 3 now that I know of interest. It seems like the opinion of other teams other than the Eagles who like this player, $4 to $5 million is the range where I think it'll end up wherever he goes. Now, we had heard the Eagles are looking at $2 to $3 million. You may have a little bit different information, but I'm talking about in cash. I'm not talking about upside, because you could give him a $3 million base and give him playing time incentives or some sort of It doesn't have to be 1 year deal, by the way. It could be a 4 year deal with a 1 year structure where they do the so-called dummy years, which we've now talked about for 3 years. There's different ways to do it. But Nelson, let me just tell you something. Nelson's an immediate upgrade over anything they have over opposite Slay, because they don't have anybody who's ready to start.
Definitely.
But the Eagles will tell you, like all teams, this is July 8th. It ain't September 8th. I always have to tell myself that, folks. I would take that advice. Teams will, like, they don't yell at me. They'll go, dude, we're going to take care of this. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm just asking. That's
right.
That's where they're at.
Yeah, and I've kind of heard similarly that one of the reasons why he's still looking for a team right now is because he wants more money. He wants what I've heard was comparable to what he was making in Pittsburgh. And as you mentioned, that there's no way the Eagles are going to pay that. They don't value him that way, and they don't have that money anyway. So they would have to do the whole, kick the can down the road with him, and they've done that with so many guys. And I don't think they want to get in that business. Now, I've also heard that they've pondered the idea of Richard Sherman, but the issue on Richard Sherman is that this is a guy who's played in a cover 3, a predominant cover 3, single safety, cover 3 off type of team with Seattle and San Francisco. And that's not really what we're going to see, at least not what we expect to see a lot with this kind of Zimmer-esque defense in Minnesota. Where they're going to, Zimmer-esque type of defense here in Philadelphia from Minnesota, where you're seeing a lot more cover 2 and different types of zone and man coverages. So I don't know if the fit's there, but at some point, maybe you just say, look, we need somebody. And, even Richard Sherman playing out of scheme might be better than, Michael Jacquet or Craig James.
Yeah. So the Eagles have about $4.9 million in cap space. That's without signing Landon Dickerson. Dickerson, once he signs, will count against the cap. He'll be part of their top 51. So that'll take them under $4 million. We've talked, we'll get in Jordan Mailata and Nate Herbig notes in a second, but they may wind up extending 1 or 2 players before the season starts. We'll see what happens. But it's a situation right now with their cap. They just don't have a lot of wiggle room. They got a little bit. They're very creative of doing the so-called dummy years, and they're not the only team that does it. Pittsburgh does it a lot. Now, for years, they've had cap issues. The Eagles have not. This is the first year that they have a pretty significant cap issue. They did some creative accounting with Jeffrey and Malik Jackson's contracts. But, when you look at their situation right now, they've got to do something at second corner. I get it. But it's a fallacy to think they're going to be able to get a starting corner. When the general manager said, "Oh, well, we got Darby, in 17." That's true, but how many teams are willing to trade you a starting corner? It's just not realistic.
Tough. You got to find the right situation, like they did in 2017 when the Bills wanted to get rid of Ronald Darby. They were undergoing a scheme change and everything like that.
Right, that's exactly it.
It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Good call.
All right, I want to ask you a little bit about the offensive line, and that kind of blends with a question that we've got here. So I'll ask it in conjunction. First, I want to remind everybody, stop paying full retail price for things you want. Go to deal-.com or the Deal Dash app. It's the best online penny auction. If you use the promo code ITB, you'll get bonus free bids. That's right. You can start bidding right away for free when you sign up using the promo code ITB on deal-.com or the Deal Dash app. So one of our questions comes from Eagle Has Landed, and he wants to know what the holdup is with the Landon Dickerson contract. And I know we had some notes on Landon Dickerson that we want to go through also. Obviously, I would have to think this. Do you know exactly specifically what the holdup is?
I haven't asked. I would only ask that if we're going into the on July 26th, when I think the rookies report 3 days early. I'll find out probably the Friday before the 23rd. I'll know. I'm guessing it could be offset language. The only reason why I say that is because the Eagles will not do a contract without it. I was told, and I haven't checked in a while, but I haven't heard of a situation that would say it's not true. Ever since the Nnamdi Asomugha contract, where they did no offset, which didn't work out very well for them, they changed their opinion on it because it bit them in the tuchus, so to speak. And that was it for not doing contracts with offset line, which I don't know what else it could be. I don't.
Yeah, because his money, it's not over wanting to get paid more because you're slotted into a certain spot. Your salary is predetermined. Could be something on where they are salary cap wise and just wanting to free up a little bit of money. I don't
know. I haven't asked
if that would matter, but yeah, I can't imagine this thing going into training camp.
He will not.
There's no
there's
reason.
no way he's a holdout.
Right.
First of all, I know agents will tell me the things that they could fight for are these: signing bonus payouts, deferrals, per diem, like little ancillary things that they could fight for. Offset language is not one that the Eagles will give in on. They're just not going to do that. And with his injury history, now I could see if I'm his agent, because of his injury history, maybe you're fighting for offset in the final year, which is year 4. He has a 4-year deal, he doesn't have a 5th-year option because he's not a first-round pick.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm just I don't. It's not something that matters right now. It'll matter if he's not there at rookie camp. It sure as hell will matter. That becomes a real problem. But there's nothing to indicate that it's going to be that the agent could hold out for as long as he wants. This is not.
Yeah, that would be counterintuitive because then he would lose a lot of money if he was holding out.
No, you can't. He's not a holdout because he doesn't have a signed contract.
He's not under contract.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
But it's just again, these are missing reps, and reps. I don't even know what list will be on NFI. Will be on PUP. Start camp. We don't know anything yet on that.
But you are theoretically though losing money though because you're not under contract, so you don't get your paychecks. Correct? I mean, when do paychecks?
No, you don't get paid to the fall. No, you don't get paid to the fall. Right. Game checks come in the fall.
Game checks. That's right.
Right, but sign and bonus payments. Okay, let's say he signed now. Some teams will pay the. Okay, let's say I'm hypothetical. I don't know what sign and bonus would be. Let's say sign and bonus is $500,000, right? Some teams, like some agents, will negotiate. Hey, for us to sign now. Like for instance, Peyton Turner got the first round pick for the Saints. He was the last of that group picked in the 20s to get a fully guaranteed contract for the first 4 years, fully guaranteed. He's picked in the 20s. That's why he signed early. If the Saints didn't do it, he wasn't doing it. I mean that's there are things you could fight for. So it's an interesting discussion, but I'm not even remotely concerned about it from the Eagles standpoint. But again, if he ain't there in the rookie camp, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree with you on that one.
I mean, that rookie camp,
training camp, started training. Support. Yeah.
Yes.
We've talked about where he slots. I mean, first he has to be ready to play medically, but hypothetically, he's medically cleared. He's ready to play. He's still a backup until right guard or center or left guard has some kind of opening. But we've talked about him being a potential replacement for Jason Kelce. I still wrestle with the idea of why you wouldn't move, say, Amalu to center and then put him at left guard, or in that case, just because I like a road grading guard. That's what you want out of a guard, a big mauler road grader, and you usually get a fleet of foot guy at center. And say Amalu does move very well for his size, and he was once projected to be Jason Kelce's replacement.
And that's where I come in. So yes, 100% when they drafted Seumalo, he was supposed to be the replacement for Kelce. Well, who knew 2 things? Kelce would be able to revive his career in a big way after he was made available. This is several years ago. And then he revived his career. It's really remarkable how he was able to regain what he had once seemingly lost. And the light bulb went on for Seumalo in 2018, which was really one of our first scoops that we put on the spring of 18. It was probably our first show that, despite all the reporting out there, was all wrong. He actually had one of the best off seasons of any Eagle in 18, and I never would have believed it if he would have told me this in 17. He didn't have a lot of confidence. His first 2 years were rocky, and then something happened. Third year, look, Brandon Graham. We've said this more than once. He turned his career around in year 3, I think it was. So you don't know. But moving this forward here, yeah, Dickerson. I think it's on what you just said. My understanding is, I think what we're told is this. It is not a done deal that Dickerson will replace Kelce. I thought it was when he was drafted, but as you said, they got to see how his health is. But it's to be determined. I'm not saying it won't happen, and I think odds are that he will be. But it's not a done deal. If Kelce does not come back next year, it's not a done deal. That's to be determined, as I understand it.
That pleases me because I really do think that he projects better as a guard than. I mean, look, I think he can play both and be effective. But as I've said a couple of times, let's say Mailata wins the left tackle job, and this is a guy who's, we'll get into him in a second. He's a mammoth individual, and a lot of your run blocking is combo blocking, right? Your zone blocking, and can you imagine like Dickerson at left guard and Mailata at left tackle, just putting a combo block on a D end and driving? That guy has to fight through two men who weigh over 330 pounds. One of them might weigh over 350 or 360. I mean, that if I'm a running back, especially, and I'm looking for a lane to run, that kind of reminds me of the big road grading lines of the Andy Reid era when you had Sean Andrews there at right guard and John Runyon at right tackle, or you had Trey Thomas at left tackle. And, I forget now who was playing left guard those days. Todd Herremans at some point. Artis Hicks played. So he was big on that, having those big maulers, and that certainly was good for the offensive line and good for guys like Westbrook and Buckhalter and Deuce and all of that. So I do think in my mind that he seems to project better at left guard, but can probably be an impact player no matter where you put him on the line, interior line.
Dickerson is you just don't find centers like this. Remember, he played left tackle in his football playing career.
Yes.
He is such an animal. He's just a man. It's just
right.
I mean, again, and I've never gotten a straight answer why in the Eagles for nearly 2 decades, other than Freddie Millens, who never really made it, they didn't draft an Alabama player.
Right.
How does it happen?
I'm not sure. They drafted a ton of USC players though, but not a lot of Alabama guys. Though.
Yeah. So which is that's another question for an issue for another time. But these Alabama kids, Smith and Dickerson, they're going to be studs if Dickerson's healthy. I don't think there's any question about it. So. And then the other little note here. Nate Herbig. So we had put the scoop out, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks ago about his weight. He had lost 30 pounds. Well, I don't know exactly what his weight it was, but I do know this. He's around 340, right?
Okay.
So that's we heard he's in like 338, 340, somewhere in that area, somewhere in 340. Okay. It's a really cool picture of his IG. So on our Facebook page, one of our followers put a picture of his IG on there, and I it's definitely real. I checked. He's working out, man. He looks good.
So what you're saying was he used to be that's what he played at last year, 340?
No. Hell no. What are you kidding? No.
That's what I wasn't sure.
Brother. No.
He's down to about 340.
Yeah. Because 340, though heavy, wouldn't be too bad.
No.
So I'm guessing, don't know it as a fact, he was somewhere around 370 to 380 in that area, which is way too high. If you remember, what someone said something about him on Facebook was kind of funny. Well, because he had his
time keeping that jersey in his pants. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, and that I laughed my ass off on it. I'm like, I just thought it was funny, just because it was true.
We've all been there, Nate.
I've been there, brother. Before I've been fat for most of my whole life. I'm not anymore, thank God. And my extra, I'm not a double extra. I'm not even extra large anymore. I'm more of a large. But some of my shirts are like drapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with 67 Herbig, he couldn't. I don't know if he couldn't, but he didn't tuck his jersey. And I wonder if John Runyon fined him for that.
Well,
I can't believe that.
It is good news,
John
though.
Runyon.
I know, right? It's good news from a Herbig standpoint because, as we talked about, this is a kid who actually made probably more improvements than it looked out there as the season went on. Especially as a run blocker, but he was carrying too much weight. He was a little slow-footed in the pass protection, and if he's going to compete to be a top backup, which he can be because he's versatile, can play that center, can play that guard, and they're going to need a top versatile. Look, I mean, Dickerson's there too, so he's got to see Dickerson there and some other guys that they've brought in, like LaRaven Clark, and say, look, nothing's going to be handed to me. So it's good that he's come back in shape. So on Nate Herbig because there's some potential there.
By the way, for Monday's show, Jeff, on Monday's show, we're doing offensive training camp battles. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to talk about training camp battles on the offensive side.
Okay, we're going to do some contract breakdowns. I got some surprising information on. I don't want to even give the players out.
Okay,
a couple of things that I'd had in my computer and I completely forgot to. Was sent to me.
All right, we got a couple. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. And I was just going to say we're going to go over some stuff that I don't think it's been reported. At least I didn't see it, and which will surprise you. You'll hear we're going to talk about why we think it's interesting to mention these things because it might explain why these players sign here and somewhere not somewhere else. Who knows? But we'll talk about that on Monday.
All right, that'll drop 6 a.m. Monday morning, the Inside the Birds YouTube and podcast platforms. I want to get to these questions. I know, though, you did want to make a quick point on Mailata, I think you said, because we were Mailata and Herbig tied together here, right?
Yeah, Mailata, I know a couple of reporters said he looked, I don't know how much time they were at practice. I don't know what, I didn't go down there, so I don't know what access they got, but I guess a couple guys had mentioned how he looked bigger. Well, we do know this. There's a certain weight that they want him at. They want him in the, I don't know what the number is, but it's somewhere in the 370s.
Okay.
Let's not forget, he's 6'8", okay?
Yeah.
He is not like a thin 6'8". He's thick as hell. So he'll never be 340. He'll never be 350. That ain't going to happen because he's too big and just thick. I've been the only player that I've ever seen who might be as big physically. Linval Joseph was a D tackle. I think he's now with the Chargers.
He was enormous.
Might be one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen. He's like a wall.
Well, how about Kevin? Was it Kevin Williams or Pat Williams? One of the Williams brothers
Williams
who are
tall.
not really brothers from the Minnesota defensive line.
Kevin Williams, right?
Yeah.
Well, but both were great, right? Both were D tackles. Kevin Williams was from Oklahoma State. That was the famous non-famous screw up by Mike Tice turning the pick in.
Yes. That's right. So, but the two biggest guys I can think of, remembering, seeing are Tony Siragusa and
I just saw him.
Yeah,
I just saw him at Ron Jaworski's
when he
charity
played.
event.
He was just enormous. I mean, you can't get more enormous than him.
Goose is a big guy, but yeah.
And with the guy from the Packers in the '90s, I want to say Gilbert Brown. Yeah. He. What they call him, like the Great Wall of Gilbert or something like that. He was
the kid at nickname, folks. If you remember, let us know. You're right. He had something.
Yeah, I mean, those guys were pushing 400, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right, so Mailata's got, big guy.
Yeah,
Trey Thomas talked about this all the time. He was always trying to lose weight at training camp and get to playing shape.
Who's that?
Trey Thomas talked about that all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Well, it's funny, and I mentioned this before, that when you and I first started covering the league in the mid 2000s or early 2000s, players would go to training camp to lose weight. Not anymore. You gotta
report in what,
right. Like, whatever, it's something we're going to keep an eye on, because we had talked about how Derek Barnett, with how small he was in training camp. And then Jason Devon had a note about really how small he was.
Right.
Derek Barnett, boy, when I was there at training camp last summer, man, he looked so thin. Now I know he was not in pads. He was in a jersey, but he needs to keep his weight up on a walk year.
Yes, he absolutely does. All right, let's get to the questions. Marquise Irvin asks, and I had a feeling we were going to be asked this. This is like, there are certain things as a reporter you get very accustomed to when you cover the Eagles. And that's whenever a certain individual who plays for another team, who has any bit of a name, either he made the Pro Bowl, he was a first-round pick, anything in the news, as soon as he wants out or gets cut, you always get, should the Eagles get him, right? It used to be Larry Fitzgerald, used to be Plexico Burress.
My God.
And then it was just like basically anybody, right?
Well, there's a running joke on Plexico Burress. So I got sick and tired of answering the questions. I don't answer questions on Twitter anymore, but when I did, we answer them here. What I did is I would copy Reuben Frank on every response. I think Reuben has the answer. Oh, Reuben knows about this.
Right.
It was just a joke. And it wasn't just once. I must have done it for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, he was the Plexico Burress beat reporter.
Right.
Please direct all questions to Reuben Frank. Right. I remember that. So I'm not trying to make fun of Marquise. It just was a flashback. That made me know that this was going to be asked. But Marquise wants to know, should the Eagles take a look at getting N'Keal Harry?
Oh, N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal. I'm sorry. What did I say? N'Keal. Yeah, N'Keal.
Yeah, it's N'Keal Harry. The reason why they won't, I don't think they will. I haven't asked because he doesn't fit what they want. He doesn't run very well. He's a better version of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in a way. Was he overdrafted by the Patriots? Yes. He's a go-get-the-football type guy. He just doesn't run very well. Now, is he talented? Yes, he's got talent. He would definitely would have gone he would not have gone past the second round. I know one team had a 3 on him because I asked when the story broke, when his agent put out the statement. I would be stunned if they did. It would make no sense, because what they do need, from checking into this, there's no one on the radar for right now. They still need to add a veteran receiver, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't do it. But They're not looking to do it now. But to me, and I know Devontae Smith's he's a type A personality need for that room.
Mm-hmm.
Former Alabama player, it's great. But I would like them to have this particular team to have someone who's done it before. Greg Ward is a dependable pass target. He's not the alpha, from what I understand. Like Marvin Jones, for instance. Marvin Jones who's now with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
The Eagles were not in on him because he would have cost too much anyway. Mm-hmm. But he is a leader. He's a locker room guy. You can't put stats on this. There's just something about having somebody in the room who could show you how to lead.
Yeah.
Greg Ward is good, but they just need someone who's a little bit older, but it is what it is.
If I were the Eagles, Adam, if N'Keal Harry got cut, I would sign him. Like, take a flyer. We talked about that with Josh Doxson. Why not take a flyer? Former first-round pick. Maybe there's something there. I might even trade a 6, like a conditional 6, but that's about it. I wouldn't be in a hurry to go get him.
Yeah, that was actually for Sports Grid. I actually said that. I had a couple teams tell me conditional 5th or conditional 6 would be as good as a 4 if he hits certain playing time, parameters this season. Mm-hmm. He's been an underachiever. He's better than he showed, but he hadn't done it next to nothing his first 2 seasons. And his agent put a request in to have the player traded. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what the Patriots can get for him if they trade him at all. Because they're going to be heavy 12 personnel. He'll be no better than the 4th receiver if he's still on the roster. And that, I kind of think what his agent's saying is like, look, it'd be best if he's traded. And I wouldn't disagree with it. Looking at his statement, but we'll see.
All right, question from Dollar Bill. When is Dallas Goedert going to get that extension? Now, we know they've talked. Dallas Goedert has come out and said there have been discussions about it. Don't you have a hard time seeing an extension happen until there's closure on Zach Ertz? Or do you think that they would just proceed as normal, knowing that I just feel like right now, until Zach Ertz is definitely off the roster, it's kind of because first of all, you want that money freed. If you're going to give him an extension, he's not the type of guy who's going to get a lower cap number because of an extension, because he doesn't have a very high cap number as a second-round pick to begin with. It's not like Derek Barnett, where if you gave him an extension, you can bring that $10 million down to $2 million, right? So he's going to get a higher cap number. So that's why I would think you'd want to have the Zach Ertz money cleared first before you went through with that.
Yeah, so let's get to Goddard. His base salary there's no guaranteed money, $1.247 million.
Right.
So as Jeff's saying, how much lower are you really going to lower it?
You're not. I don't think you're going to be able to. Yeah.
No, it's a good point. Right. My understanding is he's going to want a market deal. What that means is whatever. George Kittle's the highest paid tight end by far in NFL history. Zach Ertz's agent also has Austin Hooper got $10.5 million. Now, he was an unrestricted free agent. Mm-hmm. And where Goddard is not. The Eagles also have the franchise tag next year if they want it. This is the last year of his deal. They obviously have some leverage here. To me, and I know that, look, just because you're talking doesn't mean you're going to get extension done. I'm not saying it's going to get done. And I don't know how much urgency there is to get this done, and particularly with Ertz on the roster. I've been monitoring the situation. Mm-hmm. It would have to take a pretty strong offer from the Eagles. They love the player and the coaches, as we said back in February. The staff really likes this player, but with Ertz on the roster, it's just very complicated and awkward.
Right. The only urgency, Adam, to piggyback off that point is this: if you think that Dallas Goedert, being a veteran here and probably being one of the more reliable guys among your pass catchers right now,
not a veteran in technicality, but
when you compare him to all of the pass catchers on the Eagles, he's a veteran, right? Because
I hear.
Right. Yeah. If you feel like he's going to have a big year, he's going to see a lot of targets because of that, and you don't want that price to keep rising as he gets closer to free agency, yes, of course you want him locked up, but you don't also, as you're saying, don't want to pay the price you would pay, like an overpay, like a free agency type price right now. You want to be able to get him, locked up on your terms. And so you're right. I don't think that they want to rush to do a deal that's not necessarily team friendly or that's going to hurt them from a cap standpoint.
Right. I would agree with your assessment on that. It's this guy's a really good football player. He's got to stay on the field. Yeah. The leverage here right now is on the Eagles side.
Right.
And plus he's got a year left. This is his final year. So for them to do a deal, I would think they'd want some kind of a discount, but if for Goedert to sign, why would he take an under market deal? I just do.
There's got to be a midpoint though, where it's not, the biggest team friendly deal, and it's not going to make him the top 3 or 4 tight end paid either. There's got to be.
We'll break this one down next week, probably for our Thursday show, probably not on Mondays.
Yeah, we'll get to it soon. Closer to training camp.
We'll just as you just said, you talking about who the top 5 or 6 paid tight ends. He certainly, if he does a deal, he will not be any worse than like the 4th, 5th highest paid tight end, if not the top 3. But I want to take a look at the APY and how much fully guaranteed money it's signing. We'll go from there.
All right, let's finish it off with a question from Matthew McPherson. This is a good one. He's listened to our latest podcast breaking down the Eagles with Greg Cosell, and he noted that Greg was not thrilled with Zach McPherson, the 4th round pick, and wants to know what our thoughts on him and maybe why Greg wasn't as high on him. And I think now that I piece it together, because I go back to the Giants breakdown, and Greg was higher. He didn't say this in the Eagles breakdown that we did with him, but I remember him being very praiseworthy or having a lot of praise for Aaron Robinson, the Giants' 4th round pick, right? Who was picked maybe like 1 or 2 picks after Zach McPherson. So I think it's pretty evident Greg liked Aaron Robinson more than Zach McPherson. And again, he's just going off tape. He saw a guy in McPherson who has playmaking skills, but his eye discipline isn't the best, and he's moved around from inside to outside. So may not be ready to just get in there and be an outside corner from day one.
A couple things on Robinson. Man, teams were so over the board with that player.
Some teams really liked him.
Some teams didn't. Aaron Robinson.
Some teams didn't. Okay.
No, very critical of doesn't play the ball well in the air, makes it stay, all this. But some teams really don't see this. It's really amazing. Quarterback's another one where you could talk to 32 quarterback coaches. They see the same quarterback differently, just based on coaching tape. Now, removing interviews with them, it's just the way it is. But I would say with Zach McPherson, this is very similar to Avonte Maddox. They loved him universally. Like, this is, I don't know what all their grades were. They each pick had 6 to 8 grades turned in. But I just know that from what you and I have heard, like, they were pretty universal in this player. Just like Maddox in 18, they seem to all like him. Maddox has obviously been up and down. Some of it's because of injury. Some of it's because they keep moving him around, which is not the way they envisioned it. We'll see what happens this year. The hope is that he's not playing on the outside.
Right.
If he is, folks.
I'm going to make an observation. Here's why I think that they like him. This is just, for me, kind of, you do this too. We get these educated guesses, or we analyze what the team does over the long haul, right? I feel like sometimes the Eagles, Adam, and sometimes it works to their advantage, sometimes to their detriment. They fall in love with really good kids, smart kids, good school type, like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, really smart kid, went to Stanford, well-rounded, played different sports. I feel like the Eagles always high in the draft, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. They'll take some risks later in the draft as far as character, but I feel like they're always looking in the first 4 rounds for really good, solid all-around kids. And maybe that's their philosophy. I'm not knocking it, but I know Zach McPherson's been called a really good kid. One nice for the locker room, no knocks against him from that standpoint. And, maybe that's why they love him, because they think he's going to come in and be that eager to learn and do whatever it takes and work really hard. And maybe he will. Maybe they thought that about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and it backfired. Maybe they think that about – I know they think that about Devontae Smith, and maybe it'll be a great decision on their part, to have traded up to take him and not gone higher to get Waddle or somebody. I don't know. I'm not trying to say these other guys aren't good guys. I just know that they love Devontae Smith, not just as a player, but as a person.
Oh, he's super high character. You don't have to worry about him off the field at all. As a player, he's phenomenal. They're not worried about his weight. He's a stud player. I mean, there's a reason why they traded up for him. Now, He's got to perform, and the quarterback's got to get him the ball, and they got to protect him, the quarterback. But the fact of the matter is, they feel really good about Smith. Dickerson, super high character kid, obviously a tremendous football player. We know about the injury history. It's funny you say this. If you go through their entire rookie class plus the undrafted group, Pretty high character guys. We haven't talked about this before, but I just happen to know that offhand. I'm talking to a bunch of teams about Harry Kreider and the Buffalo player, the Buffalo lineman who's going to play on the interior because he's a little bit shorter. Jack Stoll, Gainwell, Tui Pelotu.
Sure.
Oh, they're good kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just go look at their first round picks. I mean, Dillard is a very good kid. And some people thought he was too nice, right? Too nice kid. Rager's a good kid. Devontae Smith, we mentioned. Go to second round picks, whether it's Miles Sanders or JJ Arcega-Whiteside or who did you mentioned? Dickerson, Dallas Goedert. Third round picks, Milton Williams. They love Milton Williams. They think he's a really good locker room guy. And I've seen his Zoom. He comes off as a really nice guy. I think he had a completely clean record. Third round pick from 2 years ago was who now? Jalen Hurts was a second round pick, another good, clean character guy. Everybody loves. Like you see that there in first, second, third, fourth round picks with them. That's what they value, and sometimes it really works for them. Sometimes it doesn't.
Right now, some teams are willing to take a little bit more risk on character, maybe than the Eagles are earlier on.
Oh, certainly some teams are. The Cowboys are. Yeah.
Cowboys, Raiders.
Sure.
Oh gosh, even not just when Al Davis was alive. I'm talking about in the last 4 to 5 years under Gruden.
Yeah, definitely.
Now sometimes you need an alpha, a good alpha. I'm talking about a guy like Devontae Smith, great kid and super serious. It's not that he's a loud leader.
Right.
Sets the example. Dickerson will set the example in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if Dickerson could stay healthy, these two kids, Smith and Dickerson, over time, if they're healthy, there's just no reason to think they won't be great for this football team based on what we know about coaches tape from college, character grades, tape grades, Nick Saban, the whole deal.
There you go. All right. That was a good Inside the Birds TV. We just went through a whole lot there, got some hot item issues we were able to discuss, took some questions. Reminder, if you're watching, gotta go check out our friends, Sky Motor Cars out in Westchester. Go to their website, skymotorscars.com. Especially if you're looking to trade in a car right now, they will pay you better than anybody else will. They want your cars. So go to skymotorcars.com. Big thanks to them. Big thanks to Deal Dash. Big thanks to DraftKings. Of course, Jimmy Hyden from Rebel Hill, who helps produce this live stream. As Adam mentioned, our next podcast will drop Monday morning. Wait, what's today? Monday morning. And that'll be we'll start our series going through the training camp battles, and we'll focus on the offensive battles. And then next Thursday morning, we'll have our defensive battles as we get closer to training camp, and everybody's getting very excited. So thanks, everybody, for watching the live stream. We'll catch you on the next one. For Adam Kaplan, I'm Jeff Mosher. Thanks for watching ITB TV.